I am here this evening with my lovely friend Anna Sallarès, who is our BGI representative, holder of the field in Barcelona.
And we love rituals, right? So I have this little ritual thing where I just it's kind of like a gesture thing that I do. My intention at heart, at word, and in intention that I'm going to be present, right? So this is like, for me, when I'm doing this is actually reminding me that this is what I'm doing, that I'm fully present at heart, in word, and in intention. And obviously with my hands, which is what's bringing those three together. So that's what I do when I begin. And during the adjustment, sometimes if I feel like I'm not focused, like I'm drifting away, then I'll do that again to bring myself back and remind myself at heart, in word, and intention, with my hands, I'm here.
Nice.
So that's just like a little tiny something when it comes to gestures. The other thing that I think is really important is, and it's something that I've also learned specifically through the many years of being at BGI seminars, and that's one of the reasons why you go back to BGI seminars and keep doing them, is because these kind of things just get engraved in your system and who you are, and they evolve like the way, as long as you evolve as a human being and as a professional, these concepts kind of like come into you and become part of yourself in a different way. Is that and this is going to be a tricky one, but I know that people say, oh, I take on people's stuff, right? Or I can feel like at the end of the day, I'm drained and I'm like, I've given all of my energy away. So some days I do feel like at the end of the day, I'm more tired. And those days I know that I haven't been so present. I don't feel like anybody's taking my energy, or I don't feel like I'm taking anybody's stuff on. I feel like whenever I'm present with someone and I'm not trying to make it better, I'm not trying to take away anything from them, I'm not trying to save them, I'm just there to serve them in whatever shape or form that session requires. I don't have this experience of taking on people's stuff, right?
Okay. I'm going to stop you because what you've just said is so important, and I think it's one of the messages that I really want. I have a feeling it's going to be consistent through a lot of the people that I'm talking to. That boundaries are not just personal boundaries. They are creating the field of the practice. And you also did such a beautiful job of creating your practice in that it is your space. It resonates with your personality. You walk in and you're like, this is my space. This is mine. A little bit about just the specifics in your office to give people an idea. Like give me 5 examples of filters.
Okay, so practice is about 90% wood. Everything in there is made of wood. The counters, the wall dividers, the tables, they're tulle with wooden legs. Everything in there is made of wood. That the art wall is made out of trees. I mean, the boxes where my shelves, everything is made out of wood. The geometry structures that I have in there are made out of wood. Everything is made out of wood. So that already creates a grounding feeling that already attracts a certain type of people. Certain people might not like it. It's also something that's going to create, it kind of like quiets your mind. When you walk in there, there's a really nice feeling. It smells of wood. So all of that, people, when they walk in there, they break out of the outside world. It's a very different experience for them. And they tell you, they walk in and they like, oh, it feels so nice in here. Or when they leave, so nice in here. So that already creates a filter that is, I'm somewhere else. It's different. The outside world is out there, and here things are different. So that would be one filter. And a second filter is from a chiropractic point of view. I don't have a spine. There's no spine anywhere in my practice. There's one hidden behind a wall, behind a door, not behind a wall, but just like behind a door. And when I need to
in the closet,
it is kind of in the closet, but when I need to explain something anatomically, then I will bring it out and I will explain to them, this is what your structure looks like, these are discs, whatever, but otherwise it's not there. So when people ask me certain things, for once, that already eliminates certain conversations. So that's another filter right there. They come and they tell you about certain things and they talk to you about specific things, but in their brain, when they look around, it doesn't really feel like they're at the doctor's office. So there's a lot about their health habits, how they feel, their life experiences. That's mostly what the questions are going to be in there. So that's another filter right there. They're going to be thinking about all of these things instead of thinking about just one thing. And then the way I talk to them, the way I communicate, I'm barefoot when I'm working. I don't wear coats. I don't wear white. I usually wear earthy colors that match the space. It's me, and they know it's me.
That you are there in the capacity of, and now I'll throw in my own interpretation that you can agree with or disagree with, but you're there to serve their system in releasing whatever stored potential is ready to go at that moment. And one of the things that I notice about you in your life in general is that you are really good about setting boundaries. It's why you're kind of bitchy a lot of the time.
The funny thing is that most people, or even myself, even myself, I think that I'm not great at setting boundaries, and it's something that used to make me very miserable. And it's something that I've actually learned to appreciate about myself and learn to do in a specific way, just because we need those boundaries. And I feel like I do know, as you're saying now, I do know how to set boundaries. I would say the space, my presence, the way I communicate, my forms, all of that is already filtering so that I know. And of course, the first visit and that interview for me, I filter a lot of the information through that as well. Already come out with a lot of information when I'm talking to them, so that when we get to the table, their system is already ready to tell me, okay, I know who you are, I know how you can help me, this is what I want. And that's already right there, it's very clear. %90 of the people that get on my table, I use AK, I use some tools of TBM. So a lot of people that get on my table have been to other chiropractors, and they come up with chemical stuff that I can help them with through habits, but also through muscle testing. They show you all of those things that I don't need to necessarily address through the specific AK or TBM corrections. I may or may not, depending on what the system is asking at that moment, but they're automatically, the stuff they're showing me is stuff that I can help them with. And they tell me, they're like, oh, I had somebody the other day, it's like, I've been to a chiropractor so many times and they kept focusing on my structure. And I know it's not structural. And I said, it's not structural, it's chemical. You have chemical stuff and we need to focus on your chemical. And he just, for the first time, he felt seen, he felt heard. And then he got on the table and boom, 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 right away, this thing started coming up. We worked on them. He got out of the table. He was like, oh my God, thank you. I had to give him a protocol for no sugar. He had tried this, I don't know how many times. He tried to get himself on a diet, stop eating sugar, carbs, blah, blah, blah. His wife texted me and said, what have you done? He's not eating this. He's so picky with what he's doing. He's paying so much attention. It's in 4 days. The reason why he's doing that is because that's what his system needs. And that's the conversation we had. That was filtered out. I didn't go with an intention of boom, boom, crack, crack, your spine, whatever is, what can I do? And then it was very easy. And I didn't have to think about anything else. The message, when I asked, how can I serve you? The answer was 100% clear.
That when I thought about talking to you, this is one of the topics I wanted to cover, is that I feel like you have a really good way of asking questions. And I feel like that's refined a lot over the years. So rather than, you know, show me what you've got, which is kind of what we start with in the beginning, right?
Yep.
And all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, no, wait, too much. I don't want to know everything. So, so it sounds to me like the AK is a great filter, or TBM, so whatever, it doesn't matter, but that has worked really well as a filter for you, not show me everything you have. And I've also heard you talk to people at the tables before in seminars where you're saying, you know, be specific with your questioning, because if we do go to a body and say, you know, show me what's going on, the response is going to be potentially overwhelming. So can you give an example of, not necessarily with AK or TBM, because that's obviously a different system, but within BGI context, what are the questions that you would ask somebody's system that will give you an answer that is, you know, doable?
Keep it simple, stupid, the go back to basics, those kind of things really work for me. I tend to go mental, like literally, like mental by overthinking stuff. So when the simpler I get, the better for me. So literally going back to asking, show me one specific posterior pattern that I can help you with today. So like something as specific and simple and basic as that will sometimes help. So a lot of the times and not bringing in those other techniques, but in a way, yes, because that's how I practice. If I see, because I look at the posture and I read that there's something chemical going on that might relate to a specific organ, I will ask the body, show me a specific pattern that can help you with the function or with the dysfunction or malfunction or whatever of this specific organ. And then that will sort out sometimes if I'm working on the interior and I have something going on, if I want to refine, then I'll be like, okay, is there anything, like I can sense that there's something going on with the liver, that's the resonance of the livers in my hands, the resonance of the livers in my mouth. I can pick up all of those things and I don't know what that is, what's happening. So I will stop and say, okay, am I sensing liver? And then I just go, I close my eyes, I focus within myself. Am I sensing liver? Is this liver? And I will get an answer, yes or no. It's very clear. It's just inside of us. Our system is telling us, yes, this is liver. And then if that's liver, I'll be like, okay, now I'm not with me, I'm with Jane. So Jane, show me a specific anterior pattern that I can help you with your liver issue that you're showing me. For instance, something along those lines. Sometimes I need to stop and feel something within myself. I'll be very clear in my mind, in my thought. I'll be very clear, okay, now this is Anna. I'm testing Anna. I'm sensing Anna. Okay, I regroup. This is me. I'm asking this to myself. Excellent. Now we're done. So now Jane, I'm testing Jane. I'm asking Jane. I'll make it very clear with the name of the person. That does help me be able to filter and stay and not feel too much, or be able to tell the difference between what's theirs and what's mine. That's something that helps me. So it's just, at the end of the day, the quality, it's what Sue used to say. I've heard DeMartini say this. I've heard all the great ones. I've heard you say this. So I've heard basically all the great ones say this, is the quality of your questions determines the quality of the answers. So if you want clear answers, your questions need to be super clear.
That's beautiful. I don't know what, thank you for the compliment. And it seems to me that that is just such a good nugget that if I release nothing else of this interview but that it's such a huge piece. So the questions you ask are critically important, and you can narrow them and be as specific as you feel comfortable with. You can add on more and more filters until the amount of information that you're receiving is manageable for you, and then you can take them off if and when that becomes interesting.
I remember when I started practicing, so I started supporting BGI from a staff point of view. And before I even enrolled in school, when I got in school and I went to the first BGI seminars, I had already been exposed to some of the concepts. So I knew the philosophy. I didn't know how it applied, or I didn't know how to practice it with my hands, right? So I remember the first times when I was actually trying to figure out, have I done anything, or has this worked? Has this integrated? Is this pattern released or integrated, or do I have to do anything else? All those questions. I remember I used to actually I used to literally play with the person on the table and get in a game. And I used to ask questions such as, okay, so I would step away from the person after I'd done whatever it is that I was doing. So establish continuity or integrate a pattern, whatever it is that I was doing, I would take a step back and I would say, okay, if we are done, give me a sign. And I would stand back and the person would randomly all of a sudden kind of like wiggle and be like, are we done? And I'd be like, okay, I guess we are. Or do I need to do anything else? If I need to do anything else, move the right leg. The right leg would move. And I'd be like, oh, okay, I need to do something else. What do I need to do? Look at this. And of course, it didn't always work, but it was interesting for me to be able to play and just get clear with the fact that I could ask questions and that there was, and there is, a reaction and interaction, even if I'm asking the questions in my mind. I know that for some people, when they're starting, this sounds kind of odd. It's like, am I going to ask? Like, do I have to ask out loud? I've had people ask me this at seminars, like, so do I ask out loud? Like, well, if you want to, but you don't have to, right? So this kind of playing with these kind of things helps you also identify things, or little details that will let you know whether what you're feeling is yours, is theirs, if they're done, if they're not done, if they need more from you, if they need less from you. Those kind of things you just have to practice, and you just practice by playing, by interacting with the other person. I don't have this thing about taking on or fixing, or, this is me, this is how I work, this is how I function, this is how I can help you. Do you like it? You take it. You don't like it? I'm going to be super happy to help you find somebody else who can help you.
Yeah, I think that's so important also, particularly for people that are just starting in practice. Oh, Anna, so what do you do to clarify what you're feeling, and in terms of getting information that is useful for you in the moment during that adjustment?
There's a few things. I think the first one that I would need to say is that I had to shape the way I practice to actually be able to do that. So I know that a lot of our colleagues in the BGI community work in multiple table open kind of format. And I do remember very specifically Sue telling us, you move on to 2 tables as soon as you know that you can be present with both tables. So once you're present with one table, fully present with that table, then you move on to 2 tables. Once you know that you're present with both tables and can be following and serving at the same level and with the same presence, both tables, then you move on to 3 tables. So I have in seminars worked with multiple tables, and I have been able to hold that field. So I had this kind of expectation with myself that that's the way it had to be. So here's the trick thing, is the field in a seminar is very different to the field at your own practice. When you're in your own practice, you're the one holding the field. You're at a seminar, there's a whole lot of people, and usually there's other chiropractors who are on your same level, or even have been working longer, or have more experience or different experience. So it becomes easier to stay focused and present, fully present. So for me, I started working with 2 tables. I actually had a layout of 3 tables. That's how I thought I was going to work. And I started working with 2 tables. I had the third one available. And then after a while, I realized that that did not work for me, and that I was not able to know exactly what I was feeling and what was coming from each adjustment when I was working 2 tables. So I was getting confused with what belonged to one person and what belonged to the other person and what belonged to me. So that was the first thing that I had to do, where it was like, okay, this is not something that I can control. I cannot manage this. I don't enjoy this. I'm not serving the person at my best when I'm in this format. So that was the first thing that I had to actually figure out, that for me, and it doesn't mean that it's got to be like this for anybody else. I do me, right? So for me, in order to fully be present with what I'm feeling, the first thing that I need to know is this is the format for me. So I work one-on-one now, and that works really well for me. And that helps me stay focused and be present with the person.